Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and invocation. Father McShane, Brigadier General Jebb, Lieutenant Colonel Tangy, Master Sergeant Pavluk, alumni, friends, and family of the Yankee Battalion, and most of all, the commissioning officers of the class of 2021. Welcome to the 92nd ceremony of the Fordham University Army ROTC commissioning. Today, these leaders of character will be charged with the responsibility of America's defense and the welfare of her soldiers through commissions as officers in the Army of the United States. My name is Captain Dan Milliken, and on behalf of Fordham University's Reserve Officer Training Corps, I thank you for joining us for the 2021 Spring Commissioning Ceremony. We are proud to serve as the Army's most diverse ROTC battalion, attracting, educating, and inspiring cadets across the city where the U.S. Army has operated continuously since Evacuation Day in 1783. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeff Mariflor, who will sing the national anthem, and remain standing for the invocation by Father Salazar, Executive Director of Campus Ministry at Fordham University.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Almighty, ever-living God, we call upon your name, O Most High, as we gather for the commissioning of members of the Army ROTC class of 2021. It is you, O Lord, who arrange all things according to a wonderful design and govern everything in marvelous ways. In your hand lies every human heart and every nation under your care. Grant wisdom to our leaders and integrity to all our citizens. Let holy desires reside in every cadet's heart and mind, in their words of tradition, to draw near to you in all sincerity and truth, to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, to be content only with the whole truth and nothing less, so their worship of you may be filled with the gladness of a faith that does justice on the side of the least of their brothers and sisters and those who suffer and mourn. Fill them with courage born of loyalty to what is noble and worthy of emulation, so their ties of friendship issue forth into devotion to duty and service, to assure harmony, prosperity, and peace within our borders and beyond our shores. So together we may all give glory to you until your truth and grace are known upon all the earth. All of these we ask in your most blessed name. Amen.
Please be seated. The Fordham Army ROTC class of 2021 will commission 14 officers into the regular Army, Army Reserve, and the National Guard. These officers come from universities and colleges across New York City and the Hudson Valley. This class reflects the Yankee Battalion's strong partnership with the Army National Guard, as many cadets will commission into the National Guard as into the regular Army, and every officer here today received their component of choice. 2 of these officers were mobilized for state active duty for COVID responses. 3 of these officers were designated distinguished military graduates. 2 of these officers earned master's degrees, and 6 of these officers have prior enlisted service. At this time, please welcome the Professor of Military Science, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Tangy.
Father McShane, General Jebb, Colonels McNally and Hoblin, Sergeant Major Williams from the 1st Armored Division who's watching online. So impressed with you all after his appearance here as the dining-in guest speaker. Sergeant Major Reams, Master Sergeant Pavluk, my fellow cadre, alumni, family, classmates, and friends of the Yankee Battalion, welcome to this, our 92nd commissioning ceremony. We are privileged to be here in person once again in Fordham's University Church on the Rose Hill campus. Welcome to the guests who are joining us here today, and we're grateful for the COVID adaptation of a live stream to enable our broader community to join us and participate in this as well. Thank you to Fordham's team, including Michael Trerotola, John Gowlany, and Kate Anderson-Kuo for enabling us to share this ceremony through this live stream. Brigadier General Jebb, thank you for joining us here today. When I consider the arc from Colonel Joseph Collins, an officer commissioned in 1970 from this battalion, and once an instructor to Cadet Jebb, to Colonel Parker, to you, and then to Colonel Lynn and to me, it is a small army, and I'm grateful for the arc of purpose and community from the Department of Social Sciences, which you led, and which brings us both here today. This commissioning today culminates an unprecedented year of challenges for our country, our colleges and universities, our communities, and our cadets. Each year, every commissioning cadet must qualify and commit to commission by navigating complex individual circumstances and challenges. Yet this year, the cadets here in this chancel have had to confront the Army's traditional challenges amid unprecedented constraints and limitations of COVID-19. In particular, social distancing has forced you to navigate many of these challenges on your own, from remote coursework to individual and decentralized physical training and skill qualification. Finding ways to fulfill your Army obligations at a time when much of the world was turned upside down. You found ways to do what the Army needed you to do, often without the benefit of immediate example nor close supervision, operating independently in a spirit of disciplined initiative rather than centralized control. In doing so, you have acted in a manner that portends the leadership requirements of a mission command army, conducting multi-domain operations amid constant and grave global competition. This mode of empowered initiative and decentralized execution hinges on a special kind of leadership built on accompanied challenge, illuminating guidance, trusted support, and above all, character. The Yankee Battalion is fortunate, especially amid this pandemic, to look to this guidance from the Fordham University president, Father McShane. A distinguished Jesuit, theologian, teacher, and administrator, since 2003, Father McShane has led Fordham University to become one of this country's premier Catholic institutions of higher learning. Over the last year, 3 episodes stand out to me that underscore the power and wisdom of Father McShane's leadership. Last March, in the pandemic's early days, as we all struggled to understand new safety measures and the limits of social distance, Father McShane spoke clearly that there is, and I hope you don't mind, Father, I'm going to quote you, quote, "nothing heroic or even mildly virtuous," end of quote, about skirting public health guidance to try to do one's job. The clarity of that phrase, "there is nothing heroic nor even mildly virtuous," became a guiding principle for how we implemented COVID safety measures. In June, Father McShane made a sudden decision to enshrine Juneteenth as a university holiday, a symbolic act to guide concrete actions that we have since taken across the university to make our community and our battalion more diverse, inclusive, and equal. In announcing that decision, Father's guidance was again clear and empowering. He said, "I will truly pray that what we are seeing now are the birthing pains of a nation that lives up to its promise of freedom and equality for all." And throughout this year, Father McShane has led our community to not only respond to, but adapt to the challenges of COVID-19. This spirit of adaptation, think flexible hybrid learning environments, health screenings and quarantines, virtual ceremonies and contracting, was exemplified in Father's August message that, quote, "we will all be living with change during the pandemic, sometimes on very short notice." And commissioning officers, I'm sure you can appreciate that this guidance was both prescient and eventually reassuring. These actions are glimpses of the leadership of Father McShane and examples for this assemblage of Army officers, new and old. And it is for this leadership, coupled with his personal commitment to the success of this Yankee Battalion, that I'm now honored to introduce to you the 32nd President of Fordham University, the Reverend Joseph M. McShane of the Society of Jesus.
Thank you, Colonel. Very, very kind. In fact, too kind by half. Actually, by 200% too kind, I would say. Before beginning my prepared remarks, and they are prepared, so that as a Jesuit I don't go astray, and I have 2 Jesuits here who know what that means. It's frequently said in Jesuit rec rooms that it takes a Jesuit 10 minutes to clear his throat, and then he's off and running. So I will stick to a prepared speech. But 2 things at the outset. First, I want to thank all of you for being here. This is the first event of our marathon commencement season this year, and therefore you are kicking it off for us, and I can't think of a better group to do that for us. And we will learn from what we see today here in this ceremony how best to make all of our guests feel at home and safe during the commencement season. Within the thank yous, I want to thank my dear friend, Father Salazar, for his, as usual, excellent invocation, and also Mr. Jeff Miraflor, who is a young Jesuit, one of those, it's almost oxymoronic these days, a young Jesuit, who is finishing his studies here and will be teaching at Jesuit High in New Orleans in the fall, which is the only school in America that has a junior Marine ROTC. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in your khaki next year when you come back to sing. And if you show up with khaki, I really will be amazed. Second thing, our Master of Ceremonies today said that the Army has been present in New York City since 1783, the evacuation of the area. And that triggered in me this thought, this memory. Fordham, as you know, or Rose Hill, as you probably know, is the birthplace of Army intelligence. And you're going to let me get away with that. Let me explain. In 1781, General George Washington came to Rose Hill Manor. And from Rose Hill Manor, he authorized the Grand Reconnaissance. The Grand Reconnaissance was the sending out of spies, let us be careful on that one, or advanced people, throughout the metropolitan New York area to find out where the British troops were at the time, and then report back. And on the basis of the information received from those who participated in the Grand Reconnaissance, the general was going to figure out how he was going to proceed with dealing with the British in the New York area. So we at Fordham take great pride in the fact that we are operating on that place, which is the birthplace of Army intelligence. We also take great pride in saying that we're also the place where intelligent Army officers are educated. Much more so than an operation somewhere up on the Hudson River, but I'm not going to go there. I don't want to start a fight. I am a very Pacific man. So, here we go. Thank you again, Colonel, for your kind introduction. I will send you the check for it later on. Brigadier General Jebb, distinguished guests, families of the women and men who have already been commissioned this morning, and members of the commissioning class of 2021. Let me begin my remarks by congratulating our new officers from Fordham and our sister colleges and universities throughout the metropolitan area on completing your training. What a program you have been through. It's been punctuated by seminars, classes, early morning runs, which always are rooted under my bedroom window, grueling training weekends, and Ranger training. As a result of all that you have seen, done, and experienced, you've been challenged, tested, stretched, and molded. This morning, you receive your commissions, and you become second lieutenants in the United States Army. But what in heaven's name does that mean? Well, on the surface of it, it merely means that you will be officers. We, however, know that it means much, much more. It means that from this day forward, you are recognized leaders, for that is what you have become. And therefore, on behalf of a very proud and grateful university and universities throughout New York, I would like to congratulate you on this radiant morning at the beginning of our commencement season. Now, my friends, you've already heard from the Colonel about the ways in which the past year have changed the lives of everyone in the world, and in a special way, your lives. I, however, am not going to begin my conversation with you with references to COVID or to the racial awakening that the country has been through. Rather, I want to take you back a little in history, not as far back as 1781, although I remember that day very well. It was a beautiful morning. My friends, on September 11th, 2001, a day whose 20th anniversary we will observe this year, our nation was changed in a twinkling of an eye. Stunned by the suddenness and savagery of the day's attacks, the country was plunged into mourning immediately, and no place mourned more deeply than New York. Our period of mourning, however, was followed by a blossoming of patriotism, as you know, a patriotism that was quite palpable, a patriotism, I think, that was really the cradle of your own vocations as officers. As the wave of patriotism swept through the country, proud to be an American signs appeared in every city and in every neighborhood. And people rediscovered the values upon which the nation had been founded and to which it had always been devoted, if imperfectly. I'd be less than honest, however, if I did not tell you that I was and remain uneasy whenever I see those signs. Now, don't get me wrong. I am immensely proud of America. But proud to be an American? There's something about that expression that just seems to be wrong-headed or premature, at least for me. Now, since I know that I may be getting close to offending you, men and women who are now officers in the United States Army, men and women whom I revere, allow me to explain what I mean. In the aftermath of September 11th, and let me be honest here, especially during the particularly fraught year that we have just been through, I have found and continue to find myself reflecting over and over again on what America stands for and on what it means to be an American. Now, as I wrestle with these important questions, I found myself over and over again meditating on the founding documents of the Republic. And as I did and do so, I have found and find myself filled with a sense of awestruck wonder at the idealism, the poetry, the visionary nature of all that was present at the birth of our nation. And how could I not be awestruck? How could I or anyone read the Declaration of Independence proclamation that we are a nation founded on the belief that all are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights and not be moved, sometimes even to tears? Now, in light of the vision of our founders, I found myself saying, not that I am proud to be an American. Rather, I found and find myself saying over and over again that I am grateful to be an American. And I am. In fact, I am grateful beyond measure to have been born an American and to have grown up as an American citizen 3 miles from this very spot. I am not, however, merely grateful to be an American. If only my life were that simple. I am also challenged by the ideals of the Republic as they are outlined in both the Declaration of Independence and the preamble to the Constitution. I'm challenged by the call to form an ever more perfect union, a nation that comes closer and closer to the achievement of the brave and visionary goals enunciated by the Declaration. And so I stand before you this morning proud of our nation, grateful to be an American, but challenged every minute of every day by the ideals upon which our nation was founded, challenged to grow to be the kind of American our founders hoped to create or to bring to birth. Now, you may, of course, wonder why I've burdened you with my confession this morning. Therefore, let me tell you. I know that the ideals upon which our nation was founded and to which it has devoted itself are beautiful, luminously beautiful. They're so beautiful, in fact, that they have inspired greatness in the hearts of our citizens throughout our history. This greatness has in turn blossomed into acts of transforming and bracing heroism in the lives of our most generous citizens for as long as the Republic has existed. Paradoxically enough, however, as we learned this year, our founding ideals, democracy itself, are strong and at the same time inherently fragile. Inherently fragile. Therefore, they must be protected, defended, and nurtured in every generation. And in this age of our nation's history, those ideals have touched you. And they have touched your hearts. They have called out to you and awakened in you the same bold generosity that has marked the lives of all our great heroes. Therefore, my friends, in this moment in our history, through your willingness to serve our nation, you have taken upon yourselves the important task of protecting, defending, nurturing the ideals upon which America has been built and sustained. This, my friends, is a most important responsibility. I admire your courage. I am grateful for your generosity. And I am challenged, as I always am when I am in the presence of heroes, by your generosity of spirit and your selfless love of our nation. Now, while I'm grateful to you, I will not canonize you this morning. Rather, I will pray for you. And in my prayer, I will ask God our Lord to watch over and to protect you wherever you may be, and to make you what you have been called to be, officers, but officers with a difference. Officers who are recognizably officers trained here in the birthplace of Army intelligence. Men and women of competence, character, conscience, and compassionate commitment to the cause of the human family and to the ideals of our country. And also a deep, abiding, driving devotion to the challenge of creating an ever more perfect union in this country. Ever more perfect. And as you go forth from this ceremony, be assured of our prayers, our admiration, and our trust that you will spend yourselves in the service and the realization of the ideals upon which our nation was built, ideals which are promises as well. And as long as a promise, any of the promises contained in our founders' documents, as long as any promise in there is not delivered to each member of our country's population, we have unfinished business. We do not have a perfect union. We seek a more perfect union every day. There's much work to be done. I, for one, am grateful that you have risen to the challenge of accepting posts of leadership. I know the world, not just this country and not just the Army. I know the world will be in very good hands because those hands will be yours. So, my brothers and sisters, may God abundantly bless you and all you do for our nation, for our world, for the cause of peace and the building up of the human family. Congratulations.
Thank you, Father McShane. These commissioning officers will join 173 years of distinguished alumni from this battalion, including Medal of Honor recipients, general officers, leaders of business and community, and thousands more whose service was distinguished by devotion to their country and their soldiers, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Representing the alumni at today's ceremony is Lieutenant Colonel retired Daniel McNally. Colonel McNally commissioned with this battalion 40 years ago in 1981 after graduating from the City University of New York. He later earned a graduate degree from Marist College and served a distinguished career spanning the Army, the Air Force, and the New York City Police Department. In that capacity on 9/11, then Detective McNally responded to the World Trade Center from off-duty, evacuated survivors, and himself survived the collapse of the North Tower. Please join me in applause for Colonel McNally and the alumni like him who have answered our country's call. We are also fortunate to welcome the president of the Veterans Alumni Chapter, Lieutenant Colonel retired Michael Hoblin, senior, class of 1991, Chief of Staff of the Rockland County Executive and the former professor of military science here from 2004 to 2006. Colonel Hoblin is part of a three-generation family of officers commissioned from this program. His father, Colonel Philip Hoblin, commissioned in 1951 to serve and fight in the Korean War, and his son, Captain Michael Hoblin, Jr., commissioned here in 2015 and also helped us develop our current Yankee Battalion logo in collaboration with our cadet Sodergren, class of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Colonel Hoblin.
Father McShane, 15 years ago this weekend, we commissioned the class of 2006. I have to note I'm very happy to say we both aged very well. Thank you, Paul, for allowing me to make some brief remarks. After 9/11, the cadets of the Yankee Battalion answered the call and went to Ground Zero to help with the rescue effort. To the commissioning class of 2021, this is part of your legacy. I will only offer you a few words of advice. It is fitting to share these words because they were offered to me by General Jack Keane 25 years ago. First, always maintain your moral courage. You will be faced with many challenges in your future. Never compromise your integrity. Be an officer of good character. Secondly, the rank you may achieve in the Army is not relevant. Whether you leave the Army as a captain or leave the Army as a 4-star general, it is not really important. What is important is you follow the oath you are about to take and faithfully discharge your duties as a commissioned officer. I would now like to present the General Jack Keane Award to this year's recipient, Cadet Reams.
Distinguished guest, cadre, family, and the commissioning class of 2021, I welcome you. It is great that we could all celebrate and come together today. Even though this year has been filled with uncertainty, one thing was certain. This class would commission and start their legacies within the Army. I am proud to have been tasked with the introduction of our guest speaker, Brigadier General Jeb. The first thing I believe is worth mentioning is she attended Duke University, and thanks to my father, I happen to be a big Blue Devils fan. I'm happy we have that in common. I wouldn't even know where to begin with her remarkable career. She has accomplished things that some may have dreamed of doing. We can learn so much from her, the first being the definition of a legacy. A legacy. What is a legacy? A legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. It's writing lyrics to a song or even an unfinished symphony. Her legacy begins in 1978 as a member of the 3rd class of women accepted into West Point. She then continued to pursue more education and achieved 2 master's degrees and her PhD, and embodied the attribute of intellect. But her legacy doesn't stop there. She became the 14th dean at West Point and also became the first female officer to hold the position in the Academy's history. From her expansive legacy, we can only hope to finish the symphony she has begun. From her, we can also learn how to understand the strength of our character. And while we each will or have walked a different road, we will all face challenges, and we will prove ourselves well equipped to meet those challenges. President Ronald Reagan once said, "When life gets tough and crisis is undeniably at hand, we will find nothing inside ourselves that we have not already put there." I'm not talking about physical strength and courage, although one will surely need that in abundance. I'm talking about the strength of character and integrity beyond reproach. Those ethical values cannot be transplanted into us, they cannot be crammed into our brains during an all-nighter, and they cannot be emailed into the hard drives of our souls. Ethics is a lifelong process that begins in our homes, continues through our education, and matures with duty. We can learn from her. We can learn what it looks like to live a life of selfless service, and we can learn what it means to dedicate ourselves to serving a country that has given so much to us. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the 14th Dean of the Academic Board of the United States Military Academy at West Point, Brigadier General Cindy R. Jebb.
Thank you very much. Cadet Reams, that was a very kind and generous introduction, and I'm very, very honored to be here with you all today to celebrate this occasion. Father McShane, maths are very confusing. Father McShane, Lieutenant Colonel Tanguy, Lieutenant Colonels Hoblin and McNally, Master Sergeant Pavlik, friends of Fordham University, family, friends of our commissioning cadets, and finally, most importantly, our commissioning cadets, good morning. I'm very proud of you all. You've successfully completed the challenging leader development program that Fordham and ROTC delivers, and who are now ready to start rich and rewarding careers of service. You must be very, very proud and excited to reach today's benchmark. Commissioning is a special occasion, and you have much to be proud of, as today's ceremony is a fitting end to years of physical, intellectual, and military preparation. And I know your journey here was not easy, and you were uncertain at times as to whether you would be sitting here today, but you persevered. Congratulations, you're here. And to the family, friends, faculty, cadre, staff, thank you for all the support you've provided to these cadets. There's a team of people behind every cadet, and we greatly appreciate all you have done to get them here today. So, commissioning cadets, please give those who supported you a round of applause. And to the soon-to-be second lieutenants, I imagine that whatever uncertainty you felt about graduating pales in comparison to the uncertainty you're beginning to feel about what comes next, both because of the importance of the responsibilities you're about to assume and because of the uncertainty of the world in which you will fulfill those responsibilities. No worries. Embrace uncertainty. It is a space in which you will thrive. You are ready to lead and win in today's uncertain and complex world. Your journey to this day and the journey you are about to embark upon reminds me of Nelson Mandela's words when he wrote, quote, "I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk has not ended." You've climbed many hills during your time as cadets, and these last 15 months have meant you've actually climbed a few extra hills, often faced with uncertainty. While not defined by it, this COVID environment, and I want to just take a moment to pause and offer my condolences, as there's been great loss during this past year, specifically because of COVID and second and third order effects of COVID. And at West Point, we certainly understand what all that has meant. For you, it's meant also increased uncertainty, less contact with cadre, no advance camp, and yet you're here. So we celebrate your commissioning today. It is only appropriate, as Mandela puts it, to look back on all that you've accomplished, even in the midst of uncertainty, before beginning the next phase of your journey. You have proven yourselves determined and capable, and you've surrounded yourselves with good people. And so, like many before you, you are prepared to lead our nation as we navigate the challenges of the modern world. 2 years ago, I was able to complete a course with some of my peers that included a trip across the United States visiting combatant commands, as well as a trip to Southwest Asia visiting Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. My overall takeaway is the accelerating pace of change and the interconnectedness of our world. If I were to share some trends, it would be there is a return to great power competition with China and Russia, as well as focuses on North Korea, Iran, and terrorism. Second, threats are accumulating. We could still see political instability and crises of legitimacy, but they may not just be in ungoverned spaces. We should not rule out traditional yet vulnerable nation states. And third, international norms are being contested, and the speed of technologies are outpacing these norms as well as laws. Our military must think in more than one domain at a time, in more than one region at a time. And it will be more about synchronizing and integrating actions than sequencing them. We also must engage in this contested space of these domains cyber, and space, not to mention air, land, and sea, and the technologies they're in. So rather than a binary concept of conflict, peace, or war, we must accustom ourselves to this contested space that is not quite war and not quite peace. One need only pick up the newspaper to see the complexity and exponential change in our security environment. So whether you're tracking climate change, rampant urbanization, untold cyber activity crossing the private-public sectors, massive refugee populations, the growth of technologies such as robotics and hypersonics and artificial intelligence, clearly these factors can have good but also adverse impacts on the globe's nation-state system and international norms. Our world is one of dynamic change. In short, change is the new normal. And this changing world comes with a great deal of uncertainty, whether it is advances in genomics or robotics or other technologies that affect the human condition. Our security environment will present complexities, ambiguities, opportunities, and threats that we have yet to imagine. So I share this global perspective because it helps illustrate the challenges ahead of all of us as we enter an unprecedented time of uncertainty. But regardless of the challenges posed by the environment, leaders are expected to lead. We must consider circumstances, evaluate goals and possibilities, and make decisions for our organizations. And in times of immense change, it's more important than ever that the values that define us help guide us. Across the commissioning sources, we prepare leaders for such an environment by focusing on character so that our commissioned officers, you, are prepared to lead honorably in a world of rapid change. Character is built on common values that manifest themselves in behaviors. You've had opportunities to learn and lead in uncertain and changing environments, driving you to develop your own understandings of our fundamental values and then to apply them in real-world situations. In this way, you've been able to refine your critical thinking abilities, learning to ask why as you confront unexpected situations. Your character has been built by combining rigorous military training with the quality education Fordham provides. To paraphrase former Chief of Staff of the Army General Schoonmaker, training prepares you for certainty, and education prepares you for uncertainty. Together, the academic, military, and physical components of your development have provided you with an opportunity for intensive examination and intentional development of character. It is this preparation that will serve you well and enables you to thrive during the uncertainty we now face. Each of these components is critical, building on a common foundation of character. At both West Point and at ROTC, character is our ultimate goal for your development. Character is your compass to operate and lead in gray areas of modern life, places where clear rules, laws, and norms may not exist, and yet decisive leadership is still required. Yes, the world is uncertain right now, and anyone needs to just look at the headlines these days to see everything, both overseas from environmental degradation, mass migration, tension in the South China Sea, the Middle East, you name it, to domestically, over this year alone, the fires in the West, the storms in the South, the divisive political environment, a public reckoning on race relations, the Fort Hood report, and the violent riot at the Capitol, and not to mention this pandemic. It has been an exceptionally challenging year in so many ways. But if anyone is wondering how can we possibly move forward, one just needs to look right here, these cadets. It is you, with your intellectual, physical, and moral courage, who will lead our nation and the world of nations to meet these complex challenges head on, to secure our most vital interests, and when necessary, intervene to stop and prevent the unthinkable. So I want to conclude by offering some principles of leadership that I've seen in many successful military leaders, principles which I've found to be powerful over the years. The first is discipline. Ambassador Luke, also from the Department of Social Sciences, likes to call it subtle discipline. It means being squared away, which I know it's a phrase you're familiar with. It means that you've done your homework, that you're someone that can be counted upon, that you're staying fit, that you're starting meetings on time, that you're inculcating good habits of mind and professional habits of behavior. It means doing routine things routinely. The second is to be an expert in your field. Whatever your field or discipline may be, read and invest in it, and write and rewrite. This means deliberately taking time to think. Hopefully your experience with the challenges of the ROTC schedule has helped you appreciate just how valuable time can be. While I'm more familiar with the 47-month experience that West Point provides, you have a different challenge, that of balancing both a civilian and military life, putting on and taking off your uniform between civilian classes and military labs. To develop your expertise, you must prioritize preparation. One of my son's coaches used to say that none of us knows what's around the corner, but through preparation, we should be confident that all we have to do is bend our knees. We will all face challenges in the future that we cannot imagine right now, so it's important we prepare ourselves and one another. That preparedness builds confidence, and when you're confident, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with good people, be ready to do your part, and you will find you can weather any storm. Third is humility, which may sound contrary to what I just said about developing your expertise, but humility means understanding that you don't have all the answers. Humble people have open minds and are ready to listen and to contribute where they can. It's important to know what questions to ask. Learning is a lifetime sport. As another coach once relayed, it is the learning that occurs after you know it all that truly counts. Fourth, embrace the struggle. Don't shy away from discomfort. It's when we're asked to perform outside our comfort zones that we usually do the most learning, growing, and developing. That's when bonds are formed. That's when you learn about yourself. That's when you develop empathy for others. That's when you discover that we are stronger as a team than we are as individuals. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. For me, it's not the mistake that is defining, but how you respond. Continue working on your character to live honorably, lead honorably, and demonstrate excellence. Finally, cultivate relationships and community. I love the phrase written by the playwright Terence, humani nihil alienum. Nothing of the human condition is alien to us. Maya Angelou explained that phrase in a commencement talk at William and Mary and talked about the fact that if you see something terrible happening, you can never say, I would never do that because a human did it. And that's the first step of acknowledging one's own vulnerability, which then can develop into empathy. If we are to learn from others, we need to communicate in a meaningful way. We need to be able to listen empathetically, nurture relationships. Strong relationships between members of organizations are important, and they're the cornerstone of trust. And that trust is the cornerstone of every organization. Embrace talent management and embrace diversity. This requires a personal touch. Leaders must know their people, their aspirations, their talents, and together discuss the way forward. Your cadre and Fordham have modeled an appreciation of diversity, and it's critical that we all understand that diversity makes for winning teams. But first, you have to identify that diversity, you have to value that diversity, and then nurture it through an inclusive environment. Each of you has overcome many challenges to take this oath today, but your time at Fordham and in the Army will not be measured by the things you've done. It will be measured by who you've become. Your academic achievements, your physical accomplishments, your military experiences are all threads in the tapestry of your character. That character is the triumph we celebrate today. What you've done is impressive, but it is who you are that earns you a commission and the chance to lead in America's Army. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the American philosopher, spent his life pondering the value of character, both of individuals and of nations. And he wrote, I'll take a little license here, quote, "The true test of civilization is not the census, nor the size of cities, nor the crops. No, but the kind of person the country turns out." As you stand here today, I salute you for your achievements and for your character. You are the best evidence of our strength as a society. Those gathered here have been privileged to assist you in the journey. Continue to search for those uncertain yet interesting challenges that lie ahead. Thank you for your commitment, your spirit, and your relentless pursuit of knowledge that can only result in a world increasingly good, hopeful, and free. Congratulations.
behalf of the class of
Thank you.
Most of you are more, I would say, formal events. There's a Tiffany Star, commissioned by Fordham. Come back sometime.
Cadet Reams presented General Jeb with a book about an alum of this battalion, Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, who led the formation of the Army's 1st Regiment of Black Soldiers. His courageous and faithful service, like General Jeb's, has made the Army more diverse, inclusive, and equal. And Cadet Khan presented General Jeb with a game-worn Fordham women's volleyball jersey in recognition of her great enthusiasm for the sport. The Fordham jersey has an F on it for Fordham, and we understand it's her first academic F she's received. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Brigadier General Jeb will present each commissioning officer with their officer appointment certificate. Edie August, Pace University, New York Army National Guard, Medical Service Corps. Evan Fernandez, Marist College, New York Army National Guard, Military Police. Christian Hernandez, Iona College, Regular Army, Infantry. William Holland, Mount St. Mary College, Army Reserve, Military Police. Danish Khan, Fordham University, Regular Army, Signal Corps, Branch Detailed, Armor. Jared Maldonado, Pace University, New Jersey Army National Guard, Ordnance. Paulo Nguyen, New York University, New York Army National Guard, Infantry. Konstantin Porfiriev, Pace University, New York Army National Guard, Finance Corps. Aria Reams, College of Mount St. Vincent, Regular Army, Transportation Corps. Hunter Simos, Iona College, Regular Army, Signal Corps, Branch Detailed, Field Artillery. Sarah Steffens, New York University, New York Army National Guard, Quartermaster. Anthony Sudich, Fordham University, Regular Army, Military Intelligence, Branch Detailed, Infantry. Hope Valandre, The King's College, New York Army National Guard, Military Police. Alan Zhang, New York University, Regular Army, Armor. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as Brigadier General Jeb administers the oath of office to the Yankee Battalion's class of 2021.
Constitution of the United States, all enemies,
reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and
will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
of the office upon which
of the office upon which
I am about to enter.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Please remain standing for the piping of the Army song and the benediction.
Ever-living God, stir up gratitude and praise, we pray, in the hearts of our newly commissioned officers of the United States Army and those who helped and accompanied them to this milestone in their lives, their families, friends, and loved ones, their military science instructors and administrators. You have given them much, and now much is asked of them in return. Guide and direct them then, we pray, as you give them the strength and grace to carry out the new responsibilities entrusted to them. Let their decisions and actions always begin from you and through you be happily ended. Finally, grant to all members of the United States Army the peace of mind and heart that only you can give, so they may become the blessed peacemakers of your kingdom. For yours alone, O God, is the power and the glory, now and forever. Amen.
Lieutenant Reeves, take charge of the class of 2021.
Excelsior, sir. Class of 2021, dismissed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. You may congratulate the newly commissioned officers outside the chapel.